did the jersey swapperoo idea, which was brilliant, by the way, how did that, where did that origin from?
Yeah, so when I was going through kind of the tour around the building, just worked out that David was coming in right away, or right during that time, and just, brother! And, just started talking. He's like, what would be a great idea? And so it's like, good way to introduce myself to everyone and, keep things light and fun, and apparently it worked.
Did you know Dave at all before you?
So, not personally, obviously, he's a great player, I've heard of him. Social media-wise, we're always getting tagged about looking like each other. So, we were aware that it was somewhat of a thing before.
So, growing up in Chicago, did you grow up hating the Packers?
I mean, hate's a strong word, but obviously, growing up a Bears fan and I was a Javon Kurtz fan when I really started getting into football, so I also liked the Titans. I'm very aware of the rivalry and have had some family members already reach out being like, I'm going to cheer for 79, but, I can't don the green and gold and all that, so.
Dennis, it's such an obvious question, how happy are you to be here, but here's a dude that started 17 games, including a playoff game last year, and you were still looking for a home for this year. What was that process like, and how legitimately happy are you to be here and have the opportunity?
Sure, yeah, no, it's obviously ecstatic to be here. Great franchise, ton of history, great opportunity. It's such a wild year for the NFL, and because of COVID and everything, it seems that COVID kind of hit the NFL this year more so than last year in terms of, process. Obviously they didn't have a combine, and, there was a lot of elements that took a hit in that regard. So, took a lot of patience. There was a lot of, my wife and I having conversations of like, are we misreading something? There were moments, but, my agent did a good job early on saying, something might happen quick, but at the same time, it's not a crazy idea that things won't happen until camp for a lot of players. And so, everything kind of lined up, kind of like you said. And so, we kind of had the mindset that nothing was really going to happen until camp. If something did, it would be like a pleasant surprise.
Coach said the organization's had their eyes on you for a long time and following your creative journey. Did you kind of know all along the Packers had that much interest and you might be coming to Green Bay?
Yeah, so, right when the release happened, Agent made calls saying he's available, whatever. And Green Bay was one of the teams that, said they were interested. But, obviously, had to make some things work. And so we always knew that they were in the picture. And so it just, when things started to move, they moved quickly, this week. But it's been, a couple-month process in reality.
Do you feel good about, Arthur Smith's his X's and O's coming over here, they coached together?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell already that it might be a little easier transition than you might have had somewhere else?
Right, yeah, I definitely am happy that there's some similarities. I've had to change teams during training camp before when I was traded to Tennessee and have to learn a whole new offense and all that. So I've been there, and this transition, early on seems to be a little bit easier in that regard.
I guess, what was your relationship with Matt like, and is anything different with the head coach in front of his name now?
Yeah, no, I mean it's we only had the 1 year. You can tell there's a lot of confidence, and he's really sure about himself and what he's doing and what he's teaching. And that's fantastic. That's something that's great. As a leader and a head coach.
Dennis, I know you played on the right side. Do you feel comfortable on both sides? And I've even read that you can pinch inside. Do you feel comfortable at guard?
Yeah. So I would say I feel more comfortable at right, but have played at left, have started at left. I've started at all four, left and right, and I even got a couple starts at tight end during the Malarkey offense with the jumbo packages. So I think that's one of the reasons I've been able to stick around so long is versatility and willingness to do what I can for the team.
You mentioned the tight end stuff. You can have LaFleur put you at tight end. You got a touchdown in the playoff game.
Yeah, so I got 2 touchdowns. There was the one against Jacksonville and then the playoff game. And so it was one of those things where Coach LaFleur, Art Smith, especially, that they were, we had it in the game plan, for years at that point, and when they finally, pulled the trigger, it was like, oh my God, it's actually going to happen. And so, no, cool moments. Obviously, I kept the balls, and I guess I'm a record holder for being the fattest guy to catch a touchdown pass in a playoff game. So, you take that for what it's worth.
It's good. Any record's a good record.
That's what I say.
Dennis, is it unique blocking for Derrick Henry all last year, and is there anything that carries over? Is it going to be a completely different style or way of doing things here?
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be completely different. Derrick's a fantastic player, as you guys have seen. And so, once I kind of get into the rhythm with the team, we'll see how, tendencies and all that happen. But, I approach the game the same way. It's not really my job to run the ball. So, I can't really speak on that.
I asked,
Had a conversation with Rodgers yet, by chance?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. He's come up to me, he's welcomed me, and, he's been real friendly. So, cool moment to be able to meet him and, share a huddle with him.
I asked Will Compton for a scouting report on you, and he said your nickname's the Warhorse.
Yeah.
Is that true, and who gave that to you?
So Art Smith made that up last year. During the season, was battling through some knee issues, and so worked out that I'd be coming out to practice on Friday, and so Art referenced it as I was the Warhorse coming out, taking me out of the stable to get me prepared for the battle on Sunday, and it just stuck, and guys ran with it, and so it was pretty fun.
Is it weird coming into camp with a team that's just been so gossiped about this offseason? How are you picking up on the energy?
I mean, the energy has been great in the building. The locker room seems like a great group of guys. Everybody's been very welcoming. Coaching staff, front office, even, all the personnel in the building have been fantastic. So, I have nothing but great things to say so far.
Dennis, where do you think you're?
This is also a team that's very adamant about winning the title this season. How are you feeding off of that energy, and then how can you help contribute and be a piece of that puzzle?
Sure. Obviously, the whole goal is to win the last game of the year in February. And, last couple of years in Tennessee, they were pretty successful and we got pretty close. And so it's definitely, it's on the radar in my mind. And, you prepare to be playing and winning competitive football games late into the year, early into next year. And so that's the approach, every day.
What's it like walking into a room with all of your veteran leadership and also having another veteran like David Bakhtiari there to offset you?
Yeah, no, it's great. David's leadership so far that I've seen has been fantastic. Asking the rookies how they felt about their block during meetings, and it's really cool when you see players take that leadership role and kind of become a second or third coach, so to speak, in the room and on the field.
Any first impressions on Van Landen, obviously local, pretty big way?
Yeah, no, trying to get to know everybody. I've had a couple conversations with everyone in the O-line room or so. Obviously, the Wisconsin connection. Purdue wasn't very successful against Wisconsin when I was there about a decade ago. So I think I told them that our average loss was by about 43 points or so. So Wisconsin's I'm a little sour on Wisconsin, the university.
Dennis, how do you think your length and your height serves you? Where does it serve you the best?
It's a good question. I think part of it is understanding that I am a really big person, and it takes a long time to get around me, like in pass pro or so. And so as long as I can, have confidence in that and have confidence in my ability, my set, all that, it makes it hard for the defense to figure out what they want to do. They want to try and go through me. I feel comfortable sitting on a bull rush. I feel comfortable with speed rushers. So, I mean, I would say that's my biggest advantage. And, disadvantage, obviously, trying to get low. Pad level is always a thing for offensive linemen. So I always have to stress that and feel when I am low, I get great leverage because I have a lot of me that can kind of explode up. So.
Dennis, under normal circumstances, we'd have been surrounding your locker and being entertained by you, so we appreciate you showing your personality under these circumstances. We look forward to more hijinks, I'm sure. I am curious though, because we've had a few guys that have come through like you with a fun personality, and then there's a switch when you get on the field and you're a badass. Is that kind of how your toggle switch works as well?
I'd like to think so. You know, I kind of believe in, you know, when it's time to work, it's time to work. You know, it's, you know, I learned while I was in Philly, you know, mental reps when you're not in, you know, goes miles for you. You know, it gets you an extra, you know, 30 reps or so, just even if it's just stepping or mentally saying what I'm going to do. But at the same time, like, have fun when you can have fun. You know, keep it. You know, if you can have fun and you're interacting with everyone in your room or, you know, whatever at the lunch table, you know, people get to know each other better. They trust each other more. They, you know, want to help each other out. And so, I think when you have that trust and that comfortable feeling, you know, it helps promote conversation. It helps promote guys saying, you know, I don't really feel comfortable with this. Like, what do you do, or what am I missing? And then you guys can talk through it. And you're not, you know, I don't say scared to ask a question, but timid, because, you know, I don't want to ask a dumb question. If you don't know, ask, and that way we can work through it. And it's better that you do know instead of guessing, you know.
Dennis, in that same vein, this is something I'd love to ask you in a locker room setting, but you put wrestling fanatic in a Twitter bio. I'm a huge wrestling fanatic, so it just interests me. Where does that kind of come from, and how long have you been a fan?
So for pretty much as I can remember, my mom always talked about on Saturday mornings when, you know, she'd be cleaning or so, wouldn't be cartoons, it would be you know, WWE or WWF at the time, WWE. You know, I think as I got older, I started, you know, understanding a little bit more and what goes into it, and, you know, I appreciate the storytelling, the psychology of it, you know, obviously the athleticism of it to make it look as authentic and as real as it does. And it's anybody that always asks me, it's like, just go to a live show, and it's an entertainment show. You know, that it kind of has everything. It has suspense, it has comedy, it has, you know, sometimes horror, sometimes it has pyro, it has everything. So it's always been something that I've just kind of been drawn to. And so I've stuck with it.
Dennis, in your game last year against Green Bay, who did the Titans most prepare for in that Packers defense, and what did they think about after they viewed the game film?
Yeah, no, I mean, we knew that there's some talented guys on the defense, and knew that we were going to have, it was going to be a good challenge. Obviously, you know, the two guys on the edge, the two Smiths, and we knew that, we felt that the Titans wanted to, you know, do what the Titans did, run the ball, you know, play action, all that. So, you know, it just worked out that Green Bay kind of kicked our ass. So that was fun.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
For Wes's sake over there, have you been confused for the Undertaker? Did I read that correctly?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've been confused for the Undertaker, but people say, you know, obviously have referenced the fact that we somewhat look alike. You know, he's been my favorite growing up. Coincidentally, I ended up kind of looking like him size-wise, hair and all that. So yeah, I mean, people out in society might, you know, they ask, you know, see my height, oh, you're a basketball player? No. Well, then are you a professional wrestler? No. Okay, you're a football player. So it kind of, you know, goes in that order. But, you know, again, with the Undertaker, just kind of if you know, study him and like what he talks about, you know, obviously he's kind of opened up a little bit more now that he's retired, and talked about, again, the psychology and the storytelling and what it took to be, you know, he was, you know, the locker room leader, and everyone kind of went to him for advice. And it's definitely something you can kind of, you know, relate to football in terms of being a leader, in terms of being a guy that people look up to, people want to reach out to, try and get to know, and that way you can learn something, you know, even if it's just a little bit from him.
So, wait, so you look like Bakhtiari, you look like The Undertaker. Does that mean by the transitive property of lookalikes, David Bakhtiari looks like The Undertaker?
I mean, I guess you could say that. You might have to grow a little bit more, but yeah.